Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my Astroneer series. Today we're going to pick up where we left off. We're just doing a bit of a refresher. It's been a week or so since I recorded episode 1. And as with all things, as you get older, stuff just randomly falls out of your head. So, now that we've got that minor disclaimer out of the way, I suggest you strap your rocket pants on and get ready to learn a little bit more and experience a bit more of Astroneer. Now, I did record this at, I think it was about 3 a.m. after having yet another unsuccessful night's sleep. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, no random acts of complete stupid actually came out of this session. So, yeah, that was pretty awesome. We didn't really have a particularly structured plan set up for this episode. So I thought I'd just go with what I said I would do at some point, which was to set sail in a given direction with a bunch of tethers and just see what we can find, because it's just that kind of a place. Alright, well, we've already established what the surface looks like to an extent. It's time to see what the underworld looks like, since we are inevitably going to be spending a little bit of time below ground. And there are, let's say, some different materials available. For example, we're getting some quartz now. Quartz is important. We can smelt that into glass, and that becomes very useful as we advance. Oh god, there's a whole bunch of different things that we can use this for, both smelted and unsmelted. So we've just grabbed a few of those just for reference at this stage, because inevitably there'll be a mission that needs some, and as I established previously, if you've got a little bit of whatever it is lying around, it saves you having to run out specially just to get one or two. So we are very, very delicately making our way down this tunnel, because you're going to find almost never do these tunnels deposit you nice and neatly on floor level of these underground caverns. What you will find is you will inevitably need to build some sort of ramp or stairs from wherever it is you arrive. So here, for example, down to the floor level so that you can get easy access, and more importantly, so you can climb back up again without suffocating because you got too far away from your tether. So this is going to be our new bit of learning today, which is it's an additional function on the drill tool. Now, I'm holding down my left control key while I do this, and you'll see that the icon changes to like all these horizontal slashes. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to fill the ground level at whatever angle that disc is at. Now, don't panic if you don't get the hang of it first off. Trust me, it took a little while and I had some very ugly looking ramps, but as you'll see, it is a little finicky because it works off whatever facet of the angle of the ground that it starts from, and it will just project that, as far as you want to do it. And so, yeah, it's a little fiddly, but you'll get the hang of it. So we're just continuing our little ramp here, and this is where having at least one full soil container with you, because you do need a full soil container. You'll see mine is mounted on the top of my gun there, so I can monitor how much dirt I have left. if I ever run out of dirt and I still haven't made it to the ground, that's where I'll usually start sort of randomly digging away at the wall to refill the dirt container so I can continue my ramp. You might say you will develop some dirt management skills. Aha. Now, apologies for the lighting. I don't really want to start doing adjustments because Astroneer is such a pretty game, and if I start trying to lighten things up in the shadows, it's going to inevitably make the colours look really garbage. So if you guys wanted me to do that, I'll give it a bash next time I'm editing. But for the moment, the little spotlight that we've got is, you know, it's pretty good. You can see what's going on. And it's sort of, it's a bit atmospheric, I guess you could say, because it's, you know, it's like you're creeping around the alien caverns, but you can only ever see whatever your torch is pointing at. So, yeah, there's that aspect to it. Don't worry, there is a thing called a work light, which we will get probably in an episode or 3. I can't remember exactly when I picked it up. But you put it on top of one of the 2 spots on your backpack, and it casts a lot more light in your immediate vicinity. So at the very minimum, with the benefit of having that, things are going to look a lot better in an episode or 2. So stay tuned for that one. In the meantime, we are still sort of tiptoeing around in the underworld, and we come across our first actively aggressive plant. It's like a little turret thing that spits out these poison globs. They are actually quite slow moving, but you can get them to kind of run into a wall and disperse, which is what I was able to do there. But those guys, you don't see them as much at this level. Like, they're around, don't get me wrong, but you will see them a lot more commonly the deeper you go into the planet. So just a little FYI on that one. But that's really the only plant that I would categorize as openly dangerous. These pop corals, they do explode when you know, uncover them out of the ground. And that explosion can actually kill you if you're really close to it. But if you maintain your distance, they're not really a problem, and they don't explode of their own generally. It's usually just because you've dug them out of the ground. So Sylvia, which is the planet we're on, fairly warm and fuzzy compared to some of the other you know, planets out there. But honestly, if you've played any sort of mildly significant survival game, most of the stuff that you're going to come across in Astroneer is quite pedestrian by comparison. So, little bit of care and you'll be fine. So, what I'm looking for down here is, as I hinted at in the previous episode, certain minerals are only available in certain biomes. And there is 2 minerals I'm looking for in the caverns, and I'll point those out as I find them. But that's one of the reasons we're down here. The other reason we're down here, as always, is to look for useful items. You tend to get slightly better ones in the caverns than you do on the surface, but you also get different sorts of items here as opposed to on the surface. So on the surface you tend to get the little windmills and the little solar panels and batteries and things like that. Down here you can potentially get like a bigger kind of generator, which spits out a lot more power, but it consumes carbon. And I can't think what else I get down here. But the other thing that we get is as you advance through biomes on a given planet, the amount of science you get from any of the research goes up a little bit as well. So researching the little nodules on the rocks down here is more than what I get from something equivalent on the surface. So yeah, time spent down here will sort of advance your cause possibly slightly quicker. It will also end your life slightly quicker. So it's one of those risk-reward type things. Okay, and here we have stumbled across our next mineral. This is called laterite. And laterite is smelted into, well, depending on what planet you're from or what part of this particular planet you're from, it smelts into aluminium. Now, for anyone who wants to pronounce that in other ways, look, if you're in a free country and such things are acceptable, I say go for it. But in the country I'm in, yeah, aluminium is the accepted way of pronouncing it. So there. Anyway, without starting any global conflicts, I think we'll move on from that one. Now, I chose to basically fill up on laterite because it's one of the, more specifically the, smelted version, is one thing that we do use a fair bit of fairly soon. But we've stumbled across something else here. We've got a container of sorts. Now, we do actually have a quest to locate one of these. It's a... And I think I've successfully forgotten the name of this thing, but it's one of these exo boxes. We don't have what we need to actually open it at this point. So we're just going to dig it out and pop it to one side. And then once we get what we need, we'll revisit that sucker and we'll get him open. They do actually have some quite useful stuff in them. It's just a little bit beyond our technology level at the moment. Here's a useful little cavern. Most of this is mildly useless, although that big green lump there is actually a thing that we can take upstairs to our research chamber. That bit of debris on top there is a broken generator, so it's no use. Same with that one, but that is like super special find. The portable smelter uses way less power than the full-size smelter, which I've already made. But you can actually have it on your back if you need to sort of smelt things on the go. And it is just awesome, and from my past play experience, it wasn't very common, so that was a really good find. Now, when you're getting all set up to start your smelting, little tip, don't smelt everything for a given type of item. So, for example, the quartz, we're not going to smelt all the quartz because I can think of at least one thing that actually uses quartz as opposed to glass, but I'm pretty sure there is some other ones that I can't think of at the moment. It can be quite similar for a lot of other things as well. Now, obviously, if you need an item smelted and you've only got one of them, then there's not much you can do. But whenever you've got lots and lots of, stuff, try and keep some of it unsmelted just in case you need it, because obviously it's a one-way trip. When you smelt something, it becomes the new material, and there's just no way to revert it back to the old material. Alright, now I've queued up at least one of everything that I've got that I can smelt, just so I can potentially unlock missions related to those, smelted products. As you saw with all the little alerts, just the act of smelting one or two of those things did unlock quite a lot of new missions. So if you're feeling like you're not getting a lot of missions offered, chances are you just haven't come across quite enough of the materials to, get those missions unlocked. I mean, it's kind of a little bit like Valheim with its tech tree in that regard. You need to have an initial exposure to a material before you can get the extra stuff that comes out of it. At least as far as missions go. As far as technology goes, I'll do a little tutorial on the tech tree. At the moment, we're just doing as much research in the background as we can to build up some science points. But I'll show you how those are spent and what a lot of the recipes are that you will use quite a lot of, and the ones that, depending on your playstyle, maybe you won't use them as much. But that'll be in a coming episode. But the recipes, if you've got enough science points, you can unlock everything regardless of whether you've got the materials to make it or not. So it is very definitely that type of game. But the missions are very triggered based on what you've been exposed to. So yeah, there we go. Now, we're going back over here. I'm having a bit of a look around just to see if there's any random useful debris near the cave. There doesn't appear to be. So we're going to go back in here and see if we can get a little bit more good stuff out of this cave. Now, these pyramid-y looking things, they always have icons on the side of them to tell you what type of, I'll say, resource that you need to provide to unlock them. And opening them up usually gives you a research sample that's actually worth, you know, quite a bit of science. Now, this particular one is one of the two kinds that require power. Now, one of the kinds that requires power, it's a bit like a battery, so it just needs to charge up, and it doesn't really have much of a minimum power requirement for it to do that. And you can see here the little black bars to the left and right of the power socket tell me that this is one of the charge up ones. So I could literally just drop a little generator, which I'm going to do in a moment. I'm going to make a small generator. I need a little bit of compound to do that. Luckily, there's a whole mountain of it over here. So I'm just going to borrow a bit of compound from here. And by borrow, I mean not with no intent to pay it back. We're going to make ourselves a generator. Stick a bit of organic on it. And get this sucker open. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention during that previous spiel. We discovered and mined a couple of units of spherolite. Now, spherolite, as such, not a lot of uses for it as a raw mineral. However, it does smelt into something very important. And that very important thing is zinc. So yeah, that's anywhere you can think of in reality that zinc gets used. Yep, Astroneer uses it in pretty much the same places. So really good for batteries and power storage. So yeah, good to have at least a handful of that around. For the moment, we just mined the 3 or 4 units we needed for that particular mission. Now that we've got that container open, we just researched it on the spot because it was one of the small research ones. They do have sometimes the really big research modules, and they're the ones you can only just carry in your hands. They're equivalent to the big rocky looking ones that we see down here as well. So the small ones, research them on the spot. There's no need to carry them anywhere. The amount of science you get out of them is identical regardless of whether you research it by hand or whether you stick it in a research chamber. Now, we've come across another one of these, you know, poison spitty turret plants, but as you can see, we had a bit of cover there that we could hide behind in between trying to dig it out of the ground. So, not a big issue at all. We're continuing our exploration of the caverns. Once again, just looking for another, you know, choice bit of materials or, more importantly, equipment. So, you know, any power generation, things like, well, I don't think there is anything else like the portable furnace, but honestly, anything we can find that's already a thing is better than, you know, having to obtain the materials and then make it by hand. Probably another survival tip is don't go off tether in the underground area, because you can get turned around here and lose your way pretty easily. And you might be, spitting distance from your tether, but if you can't see it in the dark, yeah, you can waste a bit of time running around pointlessly trying to find it again. So yeah, make sure you've got lots of tethers when you come underground, and at the very least for your initial explorations, but I'm going to say pretty much every trip you come underground for, make sure you got lots of spare tethers. Ah, yes. Back out of the caverns into the fresh air. Oh, wait. Yeah, the air up here is the same as the air down there because we breathe bottled air. Anyway, we're going to run this one back to base and maybe do a little tidy up before we get to the end of this episode. If you get any questions, or is there any aspects of the gameplay that you want to, understand more about, or little tips and hints that maybe I haven't covered yet, don't forget to leave a comment with the video, and I'll do my best to ensure that I address that either, as part of the comment, or I'll include it in the next video that I'm editing. So yeah, don't be afraid to leave a little bit of feedback in the comments below. I hope you've been enjoying the Astroneer series. I'm kind of I'm getting back into the swing of it now, and I feel like I am going to carry this series through and ensure that it reaches a logical conclusion. I'll probably do a little bit of the extra stuff along the way, depending on what stage I get up to when the various exoplanet events show up. So expect a little bit of that as well as part of the series. And here we are at the end of the episode. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.